If I make a graphic, we're gonna watch that.
Yeah, that's Pat's like focus on the shows. We have to get to all of his awesome graphics.
Explosions everywhere.
Boy, worst of the week. I mean, he could be the worst of the week every week, but this one was particularly bad as we watch billionaire owners have their players on the field destroying each other's bodies and billions of dollars being spent, and knowing that a genocide is happening, but even going worse, going into Rafah, where people were told to go there to be safe. And the Chiefs win, and there's this whole crazy conspiracy theory that they were gonna make it so that the Chiefs win, so that Taylor Swift, who's dating Kelsey, can then support, endorse Joe Biden, which of course she's going to because she's a total lib anyway. So like big conspiracy. So the Chiefs win. It's a little weird though, because the 49ers were pretty close. But okay, Chiefs win. And this is the tweet from the head of the free world. It's hilarious. Just like we drew it up.
And you got to understand, obviously, this happened. This coincides with Israel bombing
Rafah.
Palestine at Rafah. I mean, that's the key to it. But
that's when they started.
There's so many layers of it. I mean, that's just tone deaf. You shouldn't be putting that out here. I mean, we got some other images, but look, that's hijacked from progressives, first off. And progressives got it from some old Nazi shit, but that's a whole other level of ignore that. But for the president to act like we should all
a Dark
put
Brandon
aside,
meme or whatever the hell.
Yeah, and you got to realize this is a guy who had an opportunity to speak at the Super Bowl. The only guy
every president does it's like free advertising. It's a total softball interview that they normally do. Yeah.
And so the only guy that stands between us and the end of democracy and the onset of fascism, instead of actually speaking to the public to prevent fascism, to talk about how democracy is at stake, if that's your
and calm their fears, right? Because the fear is he's not competent. That's most people say. 86% say he's too old. So a nice way to sit down for a softball interview.
And they're always softball interviews too. And they can control it. They can set the terms for it.
Yeah.
Of course they can.
But he's too scared to, because every time he opens his mouth, it's very clear that he is way too incapable to be the leader and to have the hardest job in the world. So, Asal Rad put this out: while Israel is using American dollars and weapons to bomb over 1 million refugees in Rafah, this is what the president of the United States tweets. And that, Homelander from The Boys, the Nazi superhero. And then she went on, and it is just, that night, especially, we saw tonight, I saw a Palestinian baby born during Israel's war in Gaza, wrapped in the smallest burial shroud. I saw a child's legs torn to shreds. Then I saw the US president tweet a joke after greenlighting, arming, and funding these horrors. We live in a dystopian nightmare. And it really, all these award shows and big games, like, it's hard to feel like we should be celebrating anything when we know what's happening in the rest of the world. But then
it's just incredibly tone deaf when half the country thinks we're funding genocide over there, and you put out a tweet like that.
Yeah.
And obviously he's not deciding this. It's his staff doing it. And it's part of their appeal to the, they're trying to get the youth vote somehow with this hip, cool Biden dark brand stuff. It's like the most uncool. It's, the skateboard meme with Steve Buscemi is like not even close to how uncool Joe Biden is with kids.
Yeah. It's just awful. I mean, it is awful. It's tone deaf. It is so disrespectful and not even trying on any level to take seriously. They put out these ridiculous, I know we're going to get to the Israel stuff later, but well, I had a stern word with them. We're really we're using soft power. We're, he's a fucking asshole was the latest scoop by Axios or Vice or some, BS stenographer, that Biden's really getting upset now. He's really, really upset. But they can't even keep up that facade. And again, Yeah.
Even if you take that at face value, that's actually happening, newsflash, it isn't. If you believe that, well, then you're telling everyone you're feckless.
Yeah.
You have no power. And that's another thing they have out there is that, well, the president
is too weak.
Country. Well, no, all the aid we give to any other country but besides Israel in the world has stipulations attached to it.
And Ukraine. Yeah.
We're not talking aid, we're talking bombs, we're talking weaponry. And we're we're going to actively ignore the whole world calling for at least investigations into this stuff. And this is the meme. Anyway.
Yeah, it's really gross. It's so gross. So not only was that disgusting, but the Robert Hur special counsel report came out in which he said Biden, even though there is plenty of evidence to show that he willfully took documents that would land anybody else in jail, by the way, he's too old to prosecute because people would just look at him as a doddering old man who was incompetent or, mentally checked out, and then gave a couple of, what'd you say?
Accurate.
Yeah, accurate. And then gave a couple of examples, which were pretty rough. So he says, special counsel says there is evidence Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials, but will not be charged. This from the Hur report. Mr. Biden's memory also appeared to have significant limitations. He did not remember even within several years when his son Beau died. Dr. Jill, every time I see that, I'm like, Dr. Jill, she's like, it's of education. Nobody who has a PhD calls himself or herself a doctor. That's just not normal. That is just
when I get my master's degree, I would
definitely
like to
not with
master.
the masters.
I would like to be called master.
Master, I'll call you Ma.
That's very racist. Let me cut that out of our final edit.
Seriously, she and Bill Cosby are the only two people I've ever seen in public call themselves doctors who are PhDs. But, they keep saying, can you imagine? And, it's horrible. Like, I do not doubt the love that he has for his family. He seems sincere. I would never doubt that about anybody. But their framing of it, or their sort of like cope, was to say, well, he was asked if he remembered, and he was so taken aback that somebody would ask him about the death of his son during this, that he paused. But when you look at the transcript, he's actually the one who brought it up. So that's
and he's just like, I don't want to get ageist, but we all have had experiences with older folks who drift off into la la land when something
he can't stay awake. Yeah.
So his focus is not there. Everybody knows he has some form of dementia. It's clear as all day. I mean, all the Democrats that you see defending him now, like he has brilliant character, almost every single one of them, you can find a quote from them questioning
2019.
In 2019, when he wasn't the last resort for the Democratic Party, they were trying to get him out then too.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it goes even worse. Let's see. Mr. Biden's memory was worse. He did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. If it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? And forgetting on the second day of the interview when his term began. In 2009, am I still vice president? He did not remember, even within several years, when his son Beau died. His memory appeared hazy when describing the Afghanistan debate that was once so important to him. Among other things, he mistakenly said he had a real difference of opinion with General Carl Eikenberry, when, in fact, Eikenberry was an ally whom Mr. Biden cited approvingly in his Thanksgiving memo to President Biden. And then, remember, so right after that, he does a bit of an interview after this came out. Was it after this came out or after the horrible poll?
No, it was after this, and the purpose of it really was to address the competency that, like, they're like, we got to get him in front of the camera and mute this right away.
Show how great he is,
show that he's lucid and capable. How you doing today? Are you sharp enough? Okay, let's get you in front of the camera, quick.
Hop him up on those drugs.
That's where he forgot who the president of Mexico was,
or of Egypt. He called
him the president.
The president of Egypt. It was the president of Mexico, Sisi, instead of the president of Egypt.
I forget, but I'm not running for president.
You're not the leader of the free world. Yeah, you're
I'm
allowed
to have dementia when I drink my beers.
Yeah. So that didn't go well for him at all. And in the end, what is it? 86% of Americans think that Biden is too old to serve another term as president. And they keep trying to say, well, Trump's old too, but listen, Trump's awful and he forgets everything, but he's not the person who's supposed to be, the guy who can get things done and who's been in, Congress or in office for 40 plus years. And he wasn't running on competency.
Right.
But also he's not senile at the level that Biden is.
Everybody can see there's a difference in, much as we can hate Trump, he's still there. He's the same dick he was 50 years ago. Yeah. Same asshole, whereas Biden is not the same person. I mean, he's probably the same asshole, but he's not the same. And anyone defending him at this point on it, they're already giving us the, well, even if it's all true, now's not the time stuff that they do every fucking time. But
they knew this right when they started, when they shut down the whole primary. They knew that 70% of Democrats did not want him to run. 70%. And they still decided not to have a primary.
I mean, there's nothing more selfish. And you got to also remember, Biden, he did a wink nod that I'm only going to run once. He's like, I'm going to be a one-term president. Never said it directly, but that was the implication from all of his answers. Anytime he was asked about it, was that he's going to run once. And now we're told he's the only guy stopping us from impending doom from fascism. And but he won't even speak at the Super Bowl. He won't even take free time at the biggest event in the world.
Yep. Not up to the task. Once again, not up to the moment that he helped create. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you. What is it? Not fuck you, Brandon. What was the thing? It wasn't fuck you, Brandon. What was the let's go, Brandon?
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Look at that. I mean, my mind's not as sharp as it never was either.
I forgot to bring it up. But you know how they have those memes where there's like the sticker of Joe Biden pointing at the gas prices?
Yeah.
I literally saw that at my gas station. Somebody put the sticker of, I did that at the gas price. So he's in trouble. Big trouble.
Yeah, he is in a ton of trouble, which, it's interesting because Jon Stewart came back on Monday night. I was actually annoyed by it when I first watched it because it felt very mild, his criticism. Like he didn't use the word genocide. He didn't talk about how Democrats have basically become Republicans, whether it's the border bill or police or war or whatever. But he just said, he's really old. And if you think that this is an existential crisis for the United States Democratic Party, then maybe you shouldn't run a guy who can barely cobble a sentence together and that 86% of the country thinks is too old. And oh my God, did the liberals get mad at Jon Stewart? They are in a tizzy. They're very frustrated.
And it's the most obvious, everybody sees that Jon Stewart is right. All these people talking about it, they know he's right. They just, they think, how could you be out there in an election year saying what's true to people? And I watched half of the show, and he also did a little segment where he was saying, he was setting it up like he was talking about Joe Biden not remembering things in an interview, and then he showed Trump not remembering things in an interview. So I mean, that's fair game too.
Yeah.
But why is he doing that? He's not doing that to get Trump elected. He's clearly just trying to shake some liberals up into realizing this is stupid. And a lot of people are. A lot of people in the Democratic Party are. I mean, I think most of us agree that even the Democratic Party is probably pulling the plug on him at the convention or near there.
Definitely. But it was, so there's this whole blowout, right? And, Jonathan Chait and the ladies on The View and Mary Trump. Mary Trump said that Jon Stewart is a threat to democracy now, basically, because of that segment, which is insane. But then, and I mean, this is how you know, this is on the New York Times. These are 4 op-eds on the same day. The challenges of an aging president. Mr. President, ditch the stealth about health. The question is not if Biden should step aside, it's how. Democrats can no longer stay silent about Biden. Then we had, in the New Republic, Joe Biden's historically selfish decision to run for re-election. I think even even my lady Hillary Clinton calls Joe Biden's age a legitimate issue. Of course, she's got ulterior motives, I am sure.
Yes, always.
But boy, that does show you that the tides have really shifted and the donor class is worried. That's what's happening.
Right. And, when this discussion hits Bill Maher of all places, who could also, like, every week he could be our worst of the week.
Absolutely. But wait, before we show that clip, because I've seen a bunch of people, I'm going to just call a quick audible because people are saying we need a shot. So I feel like we should do it. And then we can watch this clip. Especially for our East Coast family, we got to make sure you guys get your drinks in early enough that then you can down a lot of water so that you can sleep well.
Look at me, frozen. All right.
You're frozen? Okay. No, you're moving slowly.
I'm moving slowly, but I have a shot in hand. I promise you it'll probably catch me up when we play clip.
All right. Cheers. And we're going to watch a little bit of this Bob Costas clip.
And stop it when you
And when it comes to Biden, this is like the truth that no one until very recently wants to say out loud. But my friends will tell you I've been saying it for 4 years. This is Emperor's New Clothes stuff. Joe Biden should have run on a firm promise that he would be a one-term president. The only reason he is president is that he's not Donald Trump. Then the Dems could have gotten a lot of people up in the bullpen, and they could have sorted through those people. If Biden's hubris is such that he doesn't understand the best interest of his party and, more important, his country, then he has to be shown the door, period. Because if Trump is a threat to democracy, and in many ways he is, so too are the Dems, who are in danger of being as feckless as the Republicans have long been shameless if they're going to send this guy out there. If Trump is a monster, and in many ways he is, you're going to send this guy out to slay the dragon? I don't think so.
And by the way, he did not run on a...
I can't listen to Bill Maher. But yeah, no. I mean, everyone's saying it. That's the truth. And that's also why we know the Dems really don't care if they lose to Trump. I mean, they just do not care.
Costas was spot on, word for word, accurate as all hell. And then of all audiences, Bill Maher's shitlib audience is clapping and cheering for Costas saying that. So that is a hand-picked shitlib audience right there.
Yeah. It is I mean, I think it is the Emperor's New Clothes. Like the guild is off the lily or whatever that expression is. I think people are really starting to see that Democrats.
That's a very bougie expression. I don't even know what that means. People in my wealth structure don't say
that. Anyway, the shine is off. I think people it's very clear what Democrats really care about, which is fundraising. And they make so much more money when Trump is in power. Much more.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting to see how this is going to play out, because at this point, I don't know that he can hold it to the convention unless they just advertise that, look, we're replacing him at the convention. Calm down, people. It's not a big deal. Yeah. We'll have a replacement at the convention or something. Yeah. But they can't do that until they get past a few states, because maybe people are going to vote for Dean Phillips of all fucking people. Or,
that's it. He's the only person who exists. He's the only. We'll move on now because we've got a lot to get to. But we had a really good clip of Dean Phillips last week, and I'm not a Dean Phillips fan. He's basically saying I'm a Biden supporter. I am Biden. I'm just 20 years younger or whatever.
I'm Biden with a little more open Republicanness, which he is.
Although now he's saying that he's for Medicare for all, which is, please.
Yeah. So it was Kamala, allegedly.
Yeah. He's younger and he has, I think, like $1 billion or something. So, yeah. But he was saying, this could have been, he's trying to wake people up. this could have been a great way to get a lot of younger people. And I mean, in his mind, it's like Hakeem Jeffries, which no, thank you, but to build a bench. There's no bench. There is no young Democratic bench that people are aware of. People don't even know that Dean Phillips is running.
Not only is there no bench, like the turn in the country is towards young people are turning right. Like that was the one thing that was pretty solid in the last 10 years was a shift left of young people. And now they're going more right. Now they're not all, they're still more progressive and more left, but younger voters are now leaning more like it's one of the biggest gains that the Republican Party is picking up. And it's because of Joe Biden.
That's awful. I know I saw that poll, but I didn't kind of dig into the crosstabs. Was it actually that they're going to Trump or that they're leaving the Democratic Party? I mean, I know they don't have any loyalty to the Democratic Party because the whole time they've been alive, it's sucked.
No,
so
younger voters are more Republican than they were before. So it's not just that.
Right.
So there is a shift left that's happened for a decade here.
Yeah.
On young voters, but more like young voters now are leaning right, like because of Trump. Because look, you've got your hardcore left progressives that are never going to switch. You got your independents that are always sort of on the fence, and you got your Republicans that are obviously, MAGA. But the independents, they don't see they are more in tune to the hypocrisy because they're not seeing this as team sports like everyone else is. They're like, what are you getting done? What are you
like?
saying?
Why would I have Republican light? Why not somebody who actually gets the stuff done?
Yeah, they're going in with less bias. So unfortunately, Trump made a lot of gains in the least likely categories. Younger people and Hispanic people are voting for Trump.
And black voters. Yeah.
And black voters. Like
still overwhelmingly they are for Democrats, but he's chipping away at that. Yeah.
All you have to do is chip away at those and have voter enthusiasm be low on the Democratic side because you failed everybody on the left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then maybe throw in a genocide. A little genocide is a treat.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's the thing. And then I know we're going to move on, but like I need to look at that exact poll because I just can't believe that young people are moving rightward. That's too upsetting for me. It goes against everything I've read for the last, 10 years. I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it until I see it. Like I want to dig into that exact study. I know we pulled it for last week, but I need to really, really look through it.
I just believe it at face value. I don't. What are you doing?
All right. I know. Imagine that we need to
back up in this house. We believe blah, 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 blah.
Okay, wait. I do just have to say, and then I know we're going to move on. But that was a house that I always pass when I'm walking my dog, who had that sign up for the last, decade. Right. And I know we all know, but we have now Black lives clearly don't matter because Biden didn't do the George Floyd bill and has given more money to cops even than Trump. We've got now the border bill. No human is illegal, but now they are. Love is love. I mean, just think about all of the transgender laws happening in these deep red states that Biden is doing nothing about. Like he could threaten to withhold some federal funding or do something to get them in line. Nothing, just nothing. We lost Roe v. Wade. They could have codified it. Science is real. Tell that to the CDC. Yeah. Water is life. I don't know. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water. Then we've got Jackson. We've got East Palestine. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are committing a genocide. So you can't have this sign up anymore.
That sign was a vote for Democrats sign, but that's not, you can't do that now, right?
That's not Democrats.
You just have to say vote for Democrats with nothing except democracy's at stake.
And by the way, it's not even democracy, but go ahead and vote for Democrats. Soon they will just say vote for Democrats because they're not even how many times do you sue to get the Green Party off or sue for any time that, RFK Jr. or Cornel West or Jill Stein make it onto a state's ballot. They're going to sue to get them removed. It's not democracy. All right.
No, it's not democracy. I mean, Israel alone proves it's not democracy because the country doesn't support this war and we have no power. And the whole country is protesting everywhere. no power, nothing.
Yep.
So
yep.
It's not a democracy.
Change those lawn signs.